singing holy, holy Yahweh Almighty. We're singing holy.
Almighty Yahweh promises to gather everyone He scattered. And I am a Hebrew. We are Hebrew.
I am a Hebrew and I was born in North Carolina.
I am a Hebrew and I was born in Tennessee.
I am a Hebrew born in Arkansas.
I am a Hebrew. I was born in Texas.
I am a Hebrew and I am from Florida.
I'm a Hebrew and I was born in California.
I am a Hebrew and I was born in San Diego, California.
I'm a Hebrew. I was born in Indiana.
I am a chosen generation, a royal priesthood. I am a Hebrew and I was born in Spain.
私はヘブルです。日本で生まれました。Soy hebrea. Nací en Puerto Rico.
I am a Hebrew from West Africa, Liberia.
I am a Hebrew and I was born in Straitway.
We are Hebrew.
Oh, well, my sister.
Shalom, shalom, daughters of Zion, Sister Ashley here. Blessings to each and every one of you. Heavy rain here. Heavy rain. We always give you the warning in case we drop off or anything happens with the sound. Give me 10 minutes to get back up and rolling or we will have to cancel the show. Hopefully no problems, but the rain will get loud enough probably for you to hear. It is loud on the roof tonight. Greetings. I love you and bless each and every one of you that are striving to be obedient to Yah's order. Shalom and greetings to you, Sister Jennifer in Georgia. Give me a sound check.
Shalom, shalom, daughters of Zion. Blessings. Thank you once again for tuning into yet another episode of Sister to Sister. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure just to be able to be here with you all, and we know that you have busy schedules just as we do. So thank you for just taking the time out just to be with us tonight. I pray you can all hear me, and please let us know in the chat room if we need to make adjustments.
Hallelujah. I'm waiting on those 10s. In the meantime, please give your acknowledgments, Jennifer.
Yes, ma'am. First and foremost, I just want to acknowledge the Most High for his mercy and for his long suffering with us. And I'm so thankful for the fact that he answers my prayers and he leads me by his Spirit. And I'm also thankful that he places righteous desires in my heart. I'm so thankful that he just continually purges my mind and shapes and molds me into the Hebrew woman that he desires me to be. And I want to just acknowledge my head, Elder Rufus. I'm so thankful to say that I am his wife, that I belong to him. And it's such an honor to be loved and provided for, even in the midst of everything he has on his shoulders. And I choose to follow him all of my days and to show honor to the Father by serving him. And I want to lastly acknowledge Pastor for building up strong men and setting a righteous example, and the labor that he puts in on behalf of the saints, even in the midst of being hated and persecuted. So that's all I have, Sister Ashley.
Hallelujah. Beautiful, beautiful acknowledgments. So many things come to my mind as well, but I guess I'll just keep it simplified by acknowledging our Heavenly Father for the beautiful people that I have met that I would not have ever known or been associated with if he had not called me to his family of Yah. I want to thank him for his mothers and thank him for the blood that was shed, for the sacrifice for me and the atonement for me, as well as everything that the Father endures because of me or has endured because of his people. I glorify him that he has not removed his hand from us, and I acknowledge always Deacon, first and foremost in my heart, and then verbally for being a mighty man that sometimes is in the background, but if you just had moments of his time, you would realize how powerful, how strong he really is. And also just want to thank the mothers, as I've said, but Mother Carol, Mother Beasley. Mother Beasley always calls the dining hall every fourth day to say what she sends, quote, I send my truckload of love to all of you. And I just really love the people that Yah is gathering. I, too, attest and testify of Pastor speaking the truth continually and always. And he states how peaceful it is and how great a group of people we now are and have around us, and it's so true. And it can be taken advantage of, but I greatly admire being a part of it in my heart because of the coldness and the cruelty of this world. And I just love everything Yah is doing. So bless you, Deacon, for leading me. Bless you, Pastor, for all your labors, for leading all the brothers and not wavering, not being emotional at all. And I am so glad testifying tonight to be a bought and paid for purchased possession of the Most High Yah through his blood, but also being a possession of my husband. So let's move forward. We have a lot to get into tonight's show, and I know that you're going to like it. The rain is loud. Can you hear it out there? I'm still trying to pull up the chat. Dining hall, I know they can hear it. So we have a lot to squeeze in tonight. We want to keep it very, of course, always entertaining, but always edifying. And I know you're going to get something from tonight. Shalom, Sister Haley. Thank you, Brother Steve, Sister Wenda, for the 10s, all the waves in the chat room. Bless you to all of you who truly endure us as we put our lives out there, as we put ourselves at the forefront, just for y'all to humbly listen. It's an amazing, amazing thing. So I wanted, first and foremost, to start with Sister Jennifer. I want Jennifer to take your time and tell everyone who's tuning in tonight exactly what you have found on the Internet that is the basis of tonight's show.
Yes, ma'am. I personally did not find this information. We have a seasoned sister who lives here, Sister Chandray. She's very knowledgeable in the Word, very seasoned when it comes to deliverance. And in the midst of, helping someone with deliverance, she's looking up different spirits and seeing, pretty much what is out there. Now, she understands how to look on the Internet, how to search these things, what's true, what's not. And, Pastor tells us not to eat off other tables. I understand that. But, in the midst of trying to get information, just kind of to see, exactly what's out there, she runs across a website. And there's a woman who calls herself Lady Israelite. So Sister Chandra is like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So she starts to kind of look at, what Lady Israelite is talking about. What does she have to offer? And she was appalled at what she saw. So she forwarded the information to me. She forwarded the blog to me. This woman has a blog. And I want to read you a little bit about what she wrote, why she feels the need to have a blog. And I want to kind of expose the mindset tonight. That's the point of the show tonight, expose the mindset, that's out there. So if you're not careful, you can run across these types of mindsets. And it's very important to really understand and to know the word, and it's very important to understand and to know your role as well. So this is this website is called Lady Israelite. It's a blog, actually. And again, you can, this woman, her name is Kat. She's a married woman, and she claims to be an Israelite. So she says, I made this blog to argue against common issues affecting women in the Israelite movement, as well as to explain some of the basics to people who might be interested. I've explained the basics I care to, and I've tackled the issues that got me fired up in the first place. I wrote about head coverings, the misunderstood women of the Bible, Israelite marriage, modesty, women as property, and the so-called Jezebel spirit for the following reasons. These are women's issues that are largely decided by men who take them as a sort of for-granted thing without delving deeper or considering alternatives. At least in the circles I've experienced, no woman has had challenged these for-granted things, even when unevenly applied or not supported by the biblical law. So she's saying that in her circles, she's noticing that women are not challenging these issues. Women are not standing up for themselves. Women are not speaking out. So she says, as an intelligent, educated, fiercely religious woman, I figured I'd be good at looking at these sorts of topics and studying up on them for the benefit of my fellow female Israelites, a sort of by woman for women take on the women's issues of my religion. And then she goes on to say, I was sent a link to an internet radio show put on by two Israelite women. I'm in the habit of reading, watching, listening to Israelite things that come my way, so I gave it a listen. For the first 10 minutes, I was a little lost. I wasn't sure what the topic was. Think it is? Floated through my head more than a few times. By 30 minutes in, I was so mad I was shaking. She says, if you have 2 hours to devote to something, feel free to give it a listen. And the show that she's referring to is the show entitled Women Are Property. She says, I've been questioned as to why I write my blog the way I do, why I focus on these issues. My answer before hearing this radio show was, I want to do my part to prevent Israelitism from going down a bad road. I want to explore topics that are commonly looked over but very important nonetheless. I want to write on behalf of women to make sure they and the men in their lives are informed against any misguided person who might try to sway them. I want to keep focus where it should be kept, not on clothes or needless ritual, but on doing the right thing. Now, she's saying, my answer is this, that radio show. That's why. So we have a woman who has listened to our episode of Sister to Sister. She's listened to particularly the episode on women being property. So furious that she believes she needs to take up for us. She needs to speak up for us because we're not going to do it. She needs to speak up for the men as well because they're misguided. She wants to make sure that we're not misguided by some leader. We're not following blindly behind some leader. So she wants to speak up on these topics. So this is why she wrote this blog. So that's pretty much what I found, Sister Ashley. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, it's interesting that you found it, or that Sister Chandray found it, because as I tried to look for it, it was difficult for me to find. And I knew all the key words that you had told me. Chandray was looking for this is what she found, and this is what she came to. And I still, Grandma Barb was with me, I still was all over the place trying to find this. So it's not, I don't believe that it's coincidental that we came across some blog way out there in internet land that's directly about us. And I think it is important to talk about it because who knows who's listening, who knows who's watching, and obviously these women are. And after Jennifer found this blog, and after, of course, I look at it, what she has done is she has taken 5 women and 5 men and allowed these women and men to listen to our show. In particular, as Jennifer stated, the one about us stating that women, you are a possession. You are a possession. Using Jacob's relationship, his marriage, that's, a 2015 show, maybe 2016 show. So as she said, she was so mad while listening that she was shaking. Okay? So it's very interesting that our show has the potential to make that response because, as I even said last week on the show, Pastor gives the testimonies of women throwing their computer screens at his videos. Okay? So there's something very spiritual going on because why can't you just turn the dial, turn the page, skip, right? Your mouse is really easy to grab and click. So I'm just going to say this because I thought the accusations are very interesting and very worth pointing out so that if there's anyone out there in YouTube land that hears these same things, this is why we're going to discuss it. She interviews 6 women that did not disclose their name. Interesting because I'm out there, my name's out there, Pastor's out there, every saint here. You can find us because our lives are open books. But because of personal, private reasons, they want to hide who they are. So they call themselves after flowers: dahlia, daisy, magnolia, orchid, plumeria, and wisteria. So disguising themselves and also stating their backgrounds and where they come from. She picks one being a strong Israelite, one saying she comes from an Israelite family, but she hates titles. So she kind of sticks with Torah observant. You got one that's totally agnostic, and she's a college graduate. You got a Jewish Christian and a non-denominational Christian, and then a very young Torah-seeking Israelite, okay? So in order to, what she describes, keep people from misguided information, such as our show, she picks 6 people who hide their names who have no history of living holy. Interesting. 2 of them are married. So you're going to pick 6 women, and you are going to allow them to listen to a show about women being possessions that have absolutely no understanding, at least 4 of them. If you want to claim that the other 2 that are married totally understand marriage, let's say that the other 4, which is over 50%, doesn't understand marriage or being your husband's possession. Okay, so while listening to us, these are some of the responses that these women felt and received from our show. One says she's confused, frustrated. One accuses us of faulty logic. One of them, quote, says, "I'm in shock, complete and utter shock." One says, "We gave her a blinding headache, made her so angry." Another says, "It pains me to hear women living their lives so passionately based on something that is so false." The last one says, "The things she did agree with are said in a way that she doesn't agree with." Can anyone call in tonight? I'll open the lines for you to explain that. what does it mean to agree with something but not to agree with something? And then she calls us, or basically our administration of what we're doing, our show, our ministry, I don't know who she's directing the comment towards, but a shanker. Okay? A shanker. I'm like, I got to go back. I got to go check this out. I'm getting out of the loop. I don't know what this means. Okay, type it in. See what pops up. It means to be a painful ulcer on your genitals. She calls us oppressing, sexist, ignorant throwbacks. Accused us of being some crazy cult. And shows and posts a woman being chained, a slave, right? A very old black and white photo of a slave woman completely naked, chained to a completely naked male with a black master standing between the two of them. So this is what tonight's show is about, because we're going to tear down these accusations, and not for those who are going to continue to accuse us, because that's going to come. But I hope that you're going to learn something from tonight, because obviously our ministry and our show has reached the feminist. So jumping from those accusations, Sister Jennifer, I think a good starting point would be to bring everybody into one mind. I need you to somewhat explain what I mean by, you hear a lot here, Eastern woman, Eastern woman, Eastern woman. You even said it early in your acknowledgments. You said Hebrew, but just Yah making you the Hebrew woman that he wants you to be. And we have to put this point out that, sisters, it's not about being an Eastern woman like in Sudan, like in India, Pakistan, Africa, Afghanistan. We don't need to pack up and go to Jerusalem and be like the Eastern women of Jerusalem. What are we saying as a ministry, not to even put words in pastor's mouth, but in your take of it, what are we saying when we are striving to be Eastern? Because this was a point that offended this listening audience that night on our show as well.
We're actually talking about a mindset. It's all about a mindset. We're not saying that, in a matter of days, I'm going to be transformed into this, I'm going to be physically transformed into this Eastern woman. We're talking about our minds actually being shaped and molded to the minds that our ancestors had, to the minds that our forefathers had. If we look in Jeremiah 6:16, it says, "Thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways, and see, and ask for the old path, the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein." So we are told to ask for the old path and to walk in it, the ways our ancestors walked, the lifestyle that they lived. Through the multiple captivities, we've been robbed of those ways. They've been wiped clean from our minds. So like the Most High says, he says, for us to seek those ways, because he promises to give us rest for our souls. So he's telling us, if you seek these ways, you're going to find rest. But you have some who will say that we will not walk therein. The ones being interviewed tonight, you'll hear on this blog, they refuse to walk therein. So East versus West is about a mindset. East represents the culture of our ancestors, of our forefathers. West represents the way or the cultures of a mindset that tries to pull you away from true Hebraic Eastern thinking. The America that we live in now is geared toward a non-Hebraic mindset. Biblical marriage is foreign. It is so far and foreign to Western mindsets, but it's not foreign to Eastern minds.
Very, very good. And I guess I can just speak even as simple as Jennifer did. When we're striving to be Eastern, and it is a mindset, it's being renewed. It's being not conformed to the world, but being transformed, right, by the spirit of your mind. So in order to change your mind, you're going to change from the culture that you're in. But I think my changes just even, or my understanding of it, it would be what you gain from having an Eastern mind is obviously an agricultural appreciation, an understanding of seeds, one plant, one water, Yah gives the increase, an understanding of harvest, an understanding of times and seasons. There's a time for joy, there's a time for mourning, as well as the natural times. The understanding of the feast days that was established in the beginning with Israel, and an understanding of the commandments, the statutes, the laws, the things that were written, the understanding of His order, righteous garments, coverings, and how important it is to be covered, to be modest. This is a changing of your mind, having a willingness to serve and not to lead and not to be domineering as you may have been in the past. A desire to totally change and turn around, having a hunger for listening, a hunger for learning. This is a mindset. Being slow to anger, slow to speak, being women of temperance, as I said, being women of order, not right in your own eyes, self-reproved, raising children to follow Yah's ways, to follow your husband and his ways, not do your own thing, teaching them to fear the Creator, behaving yourself mannerably, representing Yeshua in dress, in mannerism, in lifestyle, and denying yourself with temperance. This is striving to be an Eastern woman, and it's such an honorable calling. It really is, and I pray that we are all embracing it and not denying it because of the question marks or wondering, the accuser of the brethren is cast down amongst us. He can say anything. The Hasatan can come into your mind accusing you or accusing pastor or wondering why the hell these people are always talking about being Eastern. That could just get on your last nerve. That's how spirits work. Anything could just piss you off about the way things are ministered through us. So that was brought up a few times on her blog, and as Sister Aya put in the chat room, was very wise. You always speak very timely, and you say what needs to be said. But Sister Aya, who listens to us, her whole family follows her husband there in Finland, says, I love you so much that I understand there must be someone who hates as much. And she put painful balance, right? So it just makes sense to be despised as we are. So going from hopefully establishing and bringing us all online with how we are striving to be, how we are striving. When we say Eastern, we are meaning Hebrew. When we say Hebrew, we are meaning Israelites, okay? And that's what makes us so different from others who claim the title. So let's go to some of the points that they brought out, Sister Jennifer. They had five interesting points. Let's share them with everyone.
Yes, ma'am. The first point that was made is that, polygamy is outlawed in the Bible, both by the words of Yeshua and the properly translated Leviticus 18:18. So I'm going to read. I want to read Leviticus 18:18 actually, just so we can read and see exactly what that says. Leviticus 18:18 says, "And do not take a woman as a rival to her sister to uncover her nakedness while the other is alive." So the way that this has been translated on paper, it says polygamy is outlawed in the Bible, both by the words of Yeshua and the properly translated Leviticus 18:18. So when I'm reading this, it's telling me not to turn the one against the other, not to take one to vex the other. That's what this is saying. It's not saying that polygamy is outlawed. It's not saying polygyny is outlawed at all. So that was the first point. Polygamy is outlawed in the Bible, both by the words of Yeshua and the properly translated Leviticus 18:18. So this is why it's really the law is important to understand exactly what's being said, because if your mind is not mature, if your learning is not mature, if you're just not there yet, you could easily read something like this and be swayed by it. So it's not saying that it's outlawed at all. Do you have anything to add to that point, Sister Ashley?
No, very good point. And just in case anyone has just now tuned in, Sister Jennifer and a faithful sister there in Georgia has come across a blog where there are women who have listened to our show and greatly, not only are greatly offended by what we put out on our show, but they greatly disagree and have thrown many innumerable accusations against us. So right now at this point, Jennifer is just bringing up points of their logic and their thinking. A great way to start on the first one. I know they got more. What you got?
The second one says Jacob married 4 pagans, so his marriages cannot be a model for Israelites to follow. I'm going to read it again. Jacob married 4 pagans, so his marriages cannot be a model for Israelites to follow. So the point that's given here, or the scripture, I guess, to back it up, is Genesis 31:34. And I kept looking at this, wondering if there was a typo, because it really does not say that Rachel was a pagan from here. So it says Rachel had taken the house idols and put them in the camel's saddle and sat on them. And Laban searched all about the tent, but did not find them. So when I read this, I see that Rachel has the nature of a woman. This is what I see. But this is not telling me that Jacob's marriage is not something that we should look into at all. It's not telling me that. And Jacob's marriage is one of the points that we pointed out during the show. And that brought up a lot of questions. It brought up a lot of anger. It brought up a lot of contention for these people. So that's the second point. Do you have anything to add to that, Sister Ashley?
No, just very interesting how they think, and I think for the most of us, as Pastor gave his, I said no, and listen at me, I'm rambling, but as Pastor even gave some really awesome some videos today on Patreon, which if you haven't subscribed, go buy the truth and sell it not. He had talked about, and I won't give it all away because it's just too many pearls, obviously, but it just talked about a ladder, you know, and some people are on a ladder that are just way above others. And I think we need to all understand, and anyone who's listening, it may not seem like we understand more or know more or are more experienced. It's not a haughty opinion that we have of ourselves, but I think we all need to acknowledge that those who are listening with this form of opinion and built-in defense mechanisms based on this culture and what it has ingrained into us, these responses are very common, and we can all relate to them because we've already been at the very bottom of the ladder. And because these women have never taken the first step up the ladder, that is why we can be the lions in this situation. But go ahead, please. Logic number 3.
Logic number 3. As shown by Deborah and Jael, the ideal woman of Proverbs 31, Eve, Zipporah, the daughters of Zelophehad, and many other females in the Bible, women are more than just their vaginas and their uteri. They have autonomy, responsibility, and freedom to live their lives how they will. Now, yes, we do have freedom, and we can live our lives however we want. But what's wrong with choosing to submit? What if my choice is to submit? Why is that an issue? Why is it an issue for me to follow a man? Why is it an issue for me to follow my husband? You know, if we have autonomy and responsibility and freedom to live our lives however we want, why is this an issue? Sister Ashley?
Keep going. I'm listening.
Point number 4. Men are commanded to love their wives as they love themselves. Ephesians 5:28. And then it says, it is written in the law, that the happiness of new wives takes precedence over war. So men should love their wives just as Christ loved the church. You know, that is true. But where it says it is written in the law that the happiness of new wives takes precedence over war, you know, what that is actually talking about is when a man marries a wife. Sister Ashley, do you have that scripture? It's Deuteronomy.
Keep talking. I'm pulling up my...
Yeah, Deuteronomy. Okay, thank you. But when a man takes a wife, it's saying that, you know, he's not to go to war for a year and that he should stay and cheer his wife up. And what that means is he should stay and he should celebrate with her. You know, they should celebrate that union. He should get to know her. But it's not saying that her happiness comes before anything else. It's not saying that he should cater to her every need and you know, or her every want or everything that she wants. He will provide her needs, but he's not to just stay and be her entertainment and, you know, just be tossed to and fro by how she feels or whatever she thinks. That's not what that's saying. So you can tell that a feminist actually wrote this, you know. It doesn't say in the law that the happiness of new wives takes over the precedence of war. That's not true at all. So again, Daughters of Zion, it's very important to understand and know your word. It really is, because you can easily deceive yourself and you can try to deceive others as well. Do you have anything to add to that point, Sister Ashley?
Yes, ma'am. May I just insert, because it is Deuteronomy 24:5, I'll read it. When a man has taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife which he has taken. And honestly, let's insert this, okay? Just call it my opinion, but feminists would really hate to hear, what if he was at home to further his seed for his purpose and his cause? This man has just taken this wife. There he go and be slain without continuing his name, right? So how's that idea for your come petty, you know, take care of me, massage me, and give me my baths and lay the roses on the bed sheet for a year, feminist? So it's just interesting how they think. Is that the 5 points in the intro of their blog? Was that the fifth one?
I actually have one more, but I wanted to insert this as well. You know, look at the laws of this land in America. Does America give you that freedom to not go to war? No, they don't. They don't give you a year. They don't respect your seed at all. So, you know, you want to serve under this American society, but you want to be upset with us because we want to follow the old path. So, you know, it really is, the thinking is actually so ridiculous, it's sad. Number 5, it is not lawful to give or sell a woman in marriage. Only a woman can make the choice to marry someone. The only role anyone else has is her father, and his only power is veto. I don't remember anybody in our faith at all getting married against their will. Do you, Sister Ashley?
It has never happened. No, ma'am. I do not remember it.
Okay. Well, those are the 5 points, and that's actually all I have. Do you have anything to add to any of that?
I do. Let's go here with it, because the way that you can hear us when we come across on the show really creates many things. It's just like hearing pastor. Hearing anything from this ministry can automatically create judgmentalism, criticism, et cetera, et cetera. And for some, and the minority and the remnant, it's going to create a lot of joy, pain in the truth, but so much transformation. So because women, all women that tune in, we can relate and sympathize with one another because of our similar emotional patterns. If there's a woman, myself, Jennifer, Mother Gina, her interview, et cetera, if a woman speaks contrary to what you can relate to, because maybe you don't live it, you don't walk it out, you don't understand it, you are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, you have not sought it out, from a biblical perspective, okay, you don't have applied knowledge or the point of view that that woman that is speaking to you has, then the listening audience has the choice to either agree or disagree, right? I mean, you have that choice listening to politics. But that belief of whether you agree, in particular, this show we were doing, women, you are a priceless possession for your husbands. And because of how they heard and their point of view and how they cannot relate to the sacrifice of what we live, then that belief is who they are. Your belief is who you are. How you believe is who you are. So your potential to reject all or any of the truth that you hear from us without immediate repercussions, it's always an option. That's always an option. But what we have is women who have heard us that cannot relate to our speech. They definitely cannot relate to our lifestyle or relate to our submission. They have formed an allegiance or an alliance against our belief, and it's not through their experience by any means, but they have been given a strong delusion. Jennifer, 2 Thessalonians 2:11 through 13, and I'll finish on this thought. I have a little bit more to add while it's on my mind before you go there, because I don't want to forget what I'm saying. But these women are prime examples of college-educated idiots with pride in their degrees, pride in their opinions. That's what I'm a college grad. You have a lot of pride coming out of college because you believe whatever you just went through is worth you having some valued opinion. There's no holiness backing up their lifestyle at all. And in college, you are taught to respond with problem solving. So every test you take, you are the psychiatrist, you are the hospital, you are the nurse, you are the pastor, you are the preacher, you are the et cetera, to that situation. You are I'm going to give the answer, I'm going to get the grade, I'm going to give the problem-solving tactics, and you're going to get me out of here. And the more esteem your opinion gets, the higher and fluffier your head and mind goes. So she couldn't believe that we are actually in America thinking the way that we think. Why? Because she's in America thinking the way she thinks. But before we go, 2 Thessalonians, defense mechanisms, okay? We've said this before. This is really interesting to ever consider or ponder on, and hopefully in the future we'll go even more in depth. It's something I've always wanted to do in time. But defense mechanisms are best defined as actually tools that we create inside of ourselves to protect ourselves. So we use these tools to cope and to help us maintain a feeling of security in our life. So depending on what falls our lot, or what we hear, what we see, what we experience or live through, it's going to throw up a mechanism. So all these defense mechanisms are actually distortions of reality. Don't get lost. I hope I'm not speaking over anyone, because we actually suppress our anxiety, we suppress our tension, and we suppress our spirits, demonic spirits that we have, and we just throw up the defense mechanism and we go about our day-to-day. And the way that these women, if they are women, young girls, have heard our show, there was a lot of responses in the interviewees that prove to you they are giving defense mechanisms. What I mean by that, for example, let's go to one of the first ones. I have a list of defense mechanisms in a book called Discerning and Defeating the Ahab Spirit, The Key to Breaking Free from Jezebel. I went to it because of some things that popped out in my mind. And overgeneralization, that's a big word, but overgeneralization is making judgments about others based on too little information. So let me take the microscope off of those women who heard us, and hopefully they're listening tonight. And let's put it on you for a second, because, for instance, if you see someone eat junk food one time, then you assume the person's always eating it. always eating sugar. This is what you can be guilty of. This is overgeneralization. You're taking one instance and you're painting a picture of who this person is, or you're taking I met her, this is how she looked at me, I didn't like it, this is what she said to me, and now your relationship is out the window. No more attempts at love. Overgeneralization. Or if you saw someone drinking a glass of wine or drinking it once a week, then you just assume he or she's an alcoholic because you don't drink that much or you never have drank that much. So you're basing another person's life off of nothing but your own. Okay? So they definitely applied overgeneralization in their hearing as a defense mechanism to the truth and the word. That's how they responded, by taking one show, coming across us on the internet, and trying her best to keep people from believing our faulty logic. I hope that makes sense. Let's go to strong delusion. Read 2 Thessalonians 2:11 through 13.
And for this cause, Yah shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned, who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. But we are bound to give thanks always to Yah for you, brethren, beloved of Yahweh, because Yah hath from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth.
Give me your thoughts on that, Sister Jennifer. What stands out to you?
You know, if you go up to verse 10, it says, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And if you listen to that broadcast, it may have been a really hard truth to swallow, but why just reject it right off the bat? Because when you reject it and you don't receive the love of the truth, then Yah's going to send strong delusion, and you're going to start believing a lie. And that lie is going to be so real to you, you're going to try to convince everybody else to believe this lie that you're believing. So regardless of if it's a hard truth to follow, if it's in that word, you need to swallow it. So that's what really sticks out to me, the rejection, the receiving not the love of the truth.
Right, and this verse is very proof that, once again, Yah reigns, he's sovereign. So he is the one who sends a strong delusion. And what happens is you have pleasure in unrighteousness. And obvious unrighteousness in this society and culture is the tearing down of the home, tearing down of the patriarchal, we say master, that offends. Let's say father, let's say dad, husband, to lighten it, right? So that they all might be damned who believe not the truth. Can we not all agree that you can find case after case in the scriptures that women are a possession? The bride of Yeshua is a purchased possession through the blood of Yeshua. And so it's the mind that you have to change. It's the mindset. As you're becoming an Eastern woman, you have to understand the value of a possession. You simply tune into our show that night. I even gave a disclaimer because after I read their blog, I needed to go back to our show to see what is so powerful, what's so penetrating, what's so offending about it. And we gave a disclaimer that it's not going to make sense or it's not going to, fit into your square hole. I'm rambling. Let's move on. I wanted to, Sister Jennifer, go to, we brought it up a little bit last week. Can you give me a little insight of the one that she interviews that she says has a psychology background? Let's go there.
Yes, ma'am. There was one particular woman that was interviewed, and this woman had a background in psychology. And the reason that she wanted to interview her, she said, with your background in psychology, what do you think is responsible for this type of thinking? So right off the bat, we got some psychological problems. The sisters who think this way, who think that, women are possessions and biblical marriage is something that we should, get our minds wrapped around, that we should accept it. We've got psychological issues. So she's going to the psychologist to see, exactly what's wrong with us. And this is the answer. I think it stems from the deep desire to please the power you believe in. Also, in the cases of these women, they present that they had dealt with emotions before, leading me to believe that they had been spurred and were grasping at a way to deal with that. Faith is an easy way for people to legitimize their choices. Their constant referral to the pastor always also leads me to believe that he has in some way shown them he can create a better environment for them, and so they blindly follow his teachings. In short, people are always looking for ways to deal with their emotions, justify them, or get rid of them. And when presented with an option, you are likely to cling to it if it solves your problem. This is because lots of emotions are unpleasant. I think to follow along, you need to be relatively malleable. You need to be open to it for whatever reason. And with these women, I think they like the easiness of it all. If we are a possession, then we are secure, and we don't have to feel lots of bad emotions. We don't have to make tough calls, etc. So this is the psychological answer. This is what's wrong with us, that we're relatively malleable, that we're taking the easy way out, that we don't have to feel bad emotions. We just kind of stuff them and just don't even acknowledge them at all. We don't have to make tough calls. So this is what's wrong with us, according to them. Sister Ashley?
It's good because last week we talked about, in a roundabout way, something very similar because of the accusation that we have chosen an easier way. And that's when we proclaimed on the show that it is not an easier way by far. His yoke is easy, his burden is light, but the pain of this truth and the transformation is only for the strong to survive. Weak women do not make it here. Although we are weak vessels, your mind must be strengthened in Yeshua. So you cannot intellectually understand the Holy Spirit, 1 Corinthians 2:14, but the natural man receives not the things of the Spirit of Yah, for they're foolish unto him. Neither can he know, who's he? The natural man. Neither can he know, because they are spiritually discerned. So what you've done, this woman who leads this blog, she has taken a psychology major and tried to intellectually understand the Holy Spirit, intellectually understand the Word or the Scriptures, and natural man receives not the things of the Spirit. It's foolish to him. And another defense mechanism that is inside of a lot of people is intellectualization. Long word again. Let me make sense of it. It's depriving an experience of feelings. It's as if taking or accusing us of this experience just puts us on another plane, another level that we're able to actually escape our feelings. That's wrong. You cannot escape your feelings by coming here. And although it has come to your consciousness, this is intellectualization. Although feelings come up to your conscious, because the event is so difficult that it's the only way a person can handle it. Let's say it like this. Looking at something logically and removing the emotions to avoid experiencing pain. That's what she's accusing us of doing. Okay? That we're removing our emotions because we want to avoid experiencing any more pain in life. Because she says we desire to please a power above us. It's fault. Her answer is very faulty. Obviously, she doesn't have the spirit that we have. Obviously, she doesn't speak in tongues. And she's a natural man that has no understanding. She is foolish. And the things that we do, say, and have on this show will be foolish to you if you don't reach out for the Spirit of Yah. If He doesn't live and abide in you, I can't help you. Let's move on to the next one. You said something funny on the phone earlier today when we were talking. Let's go to your thoughts about being accused of being vanilla. That's funny.
Yes, ma'am. There was a comment that was made. We were talking about accusations last week, how people feel sorry for us because They accuse us of being, just so passive. And the comment was made on this blog. She says, it makes me sad to think people believe these kinds of things. It's so extreme and it's so limiting. These women are resigning themselves to be possessions and follow the men leading their lives, when they may be able to come up with some pretty cool, unique, intelligent thoughts and could do something great. So, it's like you talked about overgeneralization, not even having any information. You listen to one broadcast and you reject the truth that's being spoken of in the broadcast, and you paint this picture like we're just so very vanilla, so boring, like we're bumps on the log, sitting with our crochet needles, rocking back and forth in our rocking chairs, like we don't have anything else to offer. And mind you, we have women who have businesses. We have women who put the time and effort into teaching their children very well, to the point that colleges have been contacting Straitway to compliment them on the level of learning that the children receive, but that is all under the leadership and the guidance of our husbands, of our leaders. You have two women who have a radio broadcast who are actually teaching women how to be women, as we learned that very same thing. So, to a Western mindset, our lives are very boring and vanilla, I guess, as you want to call it. But it's the way that the Father has led us, and it's the way that we choose to actually follow. I don't want to do as thou wilt. I don't want to do my own thing at all. I've already done that, and that has led to absolute destruction, and by his grace, I'm still here. So I've made my vow to serve him, and there are other women who have made their vows to serve him as well. And so if that's so vanilla to you, then so be it.
Oh, isn't it interesting? If you're not standing for something, as Pastor says, and you're just falling for anything, there's only one other way to live, and that is to be a people pleaser, or a self pleaser. And those who were listening that night, those who were interviewed, are obviously self pleasing or people pleasing. Period, because they are a group that is gathered as a clique to share an agreement against us, but basically living their lives with a need to make everyone else happy. If two people can't walk together unless they be agreed, if there is no communion with Christ and Belial, how can we get 5 people together, one's Christian, one's Torah observant, et cetera, nobody's really living the same lives. And let's all come together and come against this show of like-minded people dwelling together in unity. And people pleasers are always changing in order to get what they want without being detected as what? Manipulators. They do their best to conform to the environment around them and keep everyone else happy. That's what a large majority of these YouTubes are about. Blogs are about. Once you start seeing your subscribers go up, your pride is going to be to the zenith because you think you've done something, and you're going to keep self-pleasing and people-pleasing. I can't say enough about this crew that has hurt us, for them to have the audacity to even come and touch us because of how we live, and to even listen to one show if that's all they heard. And judging by some of the comments, it seems like they believe themselves to know us a little more personal than what we've even told you so far on the show. I don't even know if they've been here before. I truly don't. It's very interesting how these women do not even compare, Jennifer, to us. What say you? Go to the quote of us being rough to listen to.
Yes, ma'am. I will say that in the string of interviews, there was one particular person, there was a gentleman that listened to the show, and he agreed, actually, with our points. So I do want to put that out there. Not everyone disagreed. There was one particular gentleman that agreed with our points. But the other interviewees, to listen to them, they sound like a really bad research paper. with a very poor reasoning and logic, just written based on feelings and no facts at all. There was one comment that, said, this was during the listening. She says, "Oh, Kat, this is rough to keep listening to. I'm a hair over an hour in, and so far I've gotten the gist that biblically women are property. And we should be down with this because there is security and honor in that. Ha ha. I'm not surprised." She says, "So do you want me to keep listening, or can we just go off of what I've already heard?" And what was suggested to her was, I would recommend finishing it to get the full scope of what they're arguing. But if you want to quit, I'm not going to stop you. So they ended up listening to the whole broadcast. But, Sister Ashley, you talked about not collecting all the information. So her mind already was turned off. Even though she still had the interview turned on, she may have heard the words. She really wasn't listening to get understanding at all, because she said in the beginning, it's so rough to listen to. So her mind was already turned off. Even though she listened supposedly until the end, she really was not open to the words being said at all. So our show is not tailor-made to please everyone. We only come from a biblical perspective. We don't come from a perspective that will make you feel all nice and fuzzy, because that's just not what we need as women. I don't need that at all.
And it's true, and it doesn't speak maturely for anyone out there listening that is going to blame any of us, myself as a speaker, you as a speaker, our ministry, blaming anyone else for anything that you don't want to take responsibility for. As they said early in the show, I was shocked, completely and utter shocked, a blinding headache, so angry, all these, oppressing, sexist, ignorant throwbacks we are. So you can't even maturely listen without blaming us for how you are feeling while listening. And this is, once again, another defense mechanism, because this avoidance technique does not necessarily stem from the conscious mind. So you're not going to always know, sisters, when you're actually blaming someone else for something you don't want to take responsibility for. It's something that you have to pick up on and realize that you're guilty for. It's always someone else's fault, And if they keep their mindset, they're not going to change. They're going to be the same college-graduated idiot 10 to 15 to 20 years from now. I would have been too. If you don't learn from Yah, what are you learning from? So yes, blame, just another tactic. And I wanted you to bring up a particular photo that they have, but let's go into some of their more feminist mindsets, because I want to be able to correlate how they think with anyone else that's listening to us, so that we can all see our guilt and repent.
Yes, ma'am. There was a quote that said, "Look, I'll put it like this. Men taking wives purely because they provide for them in exchange for sex and children is prostitution. He's paying her, keeping her economically in exchange for having her as a wife to have sex with, since clearly this, quote, ideal man is too busy in the field to spend time at home. Women are not property. Sex isn't a commodity. To say it is ungodly. One man, one woman." And then there's a couple more quotes I want to read as well. It says, "This is just so hard to hear, and I feel so bad for you, because it must be so frustrating for them to broadcast these beliefs under the same religious section as you guys. I'm hoping that you can bring some knowledge to bear on it." She says, "It's very, very wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, if I didn't know you and what I do about you guys, what you guys do actually believe, then this would totally turn me off to even learning more about it." The response, "Exactly. And that's why I thought we should do this interview project, to inform, to shock, and to show contrast." One more that I want to read, actually. The interviewee says they're back to resisting the truth and being an enemy of your husband. This is during the broadcast while they're listening. Kat says, yes, and I have my own theories on that, but I'd like to hear what you think at the end before swaying you one way or another. The interviewee says, okay, I'm a pretty hardcore feminist, though, so you'll probably have to bear with me. Kat says, I'm a passionate feminist, too, so I think it'll work just fine. The interviewee says, yay, I won't feel like a ranting loon then. Ha ha. So they think it's so funny, you know. So you have a lady Israelite who says that she's a hardcore feminist, you know, that she's a passionate feminist. So we got a feminist who is an Israelite. And I don't really know what that is because those two words oppose each other so much. I've never even heard those words used in the same sentence before, like as far as going together. You know, I didn't really even understand that. That is so far out there. A feminist who is an Israelite. You know, an Israelite, a true Israelite is going to submit. A true Israelite is humble. A true Israelite wants to be led. A feminist wants to argue every single point. You know, like she said, we have to inform, we have to shock, and we have to show contrast. So you have people who are calling themselves Israelites, but really their God is themselves. You know, her God is her. She's choosing to serve the God of feminism because she believes that she has to inform everyone against us, those women who think that they're property, those women who want to submit, those women who want to obey patriarchal rule. I got to shock and show contrast. I got to show that not everybody has to do that. No, everyone doesn't. This isn't for everyone. This is for us. It's not for you. So you're taking our name, but we're actually functioning as Israelites.
As you said, two words that are completely opposing one another. But at the same time, it would be easy to be a feminist Israelite if you were to claim the title of an Israelite, but keep the beliefs of a feminist. And a feminist places patriarchal men in a box together, believing that they are all or mostly sexist and women-hating. And this belief initiates their internal rejections. And they fight to raise women above their rejection, above what property or possessions may feel like. I wanna read some quotes from a chapter called The Imperialism of Patriarchy, written by a feminist. Don't be bored, okay? Because if you're righteous and you're always seeking the truth, you're always listening for anything that you have been guilty of and believing so that you may deny it, so that it will not separate you from Yeshua, because he's a Yah of great order and he's a patriarchal ruler. Patriarchy's foundation, here's the quote, and I got a lot of them. Patriarchy's foundation is the oppression of women. The cement of patriarchy's foundation is the socialization of men to hate women. All right, next quote. And might I add, there's a thin line between the truth and then feminism. Okay? So what you may hear some of these quotes state may appear as I proceed further to be what sounds like the truth, but be very slow to agree, because these are feminist quotes. Okay? The patriarchal, quote, nuclear family makes all its members dependent upon the male, the father, or the husband. It is in this oppressive atmosphere that we grow up. And we are extremely sensitive to the hierarchy of power, even as children. As children, we realize more than the adults know that our father is powerful and that our mother is powerless. She has to scheme and manipulate through sympathy to get what she wants. All right, another quote. men should begin to see women as their enemy. It is a perfectly logical structure of patriarchal rule. Next quote. Psychologically, we objectify the people we hate like women and consider them our inferiors. I hope y'all are hearing like I am. Okay? Let's go to the next one. I don't want to lose you on this one. I'll try to speak slow. Try to stay engaged. Quote, most men in patriarchal society, though fanatically committed to male dominance, these men like to think that they will not use brutally or oppress their women. Yet at very young ages, male children are taught to regard females as their enemy, and females are a threat to their status and their power. As they grow older, this is the young males, as they grow older, they learn that aggression towards women lessens their anxiety and their fear that any of their masculine power would be usurped. Interesting, right? Here's another quote from a man that supports feminism. We have to accept that our anger belongs to us and stems from our hatred of women. I know men say that they really do not hate women. They've just treated them unfairly. But this is a cop-out, and it's not true. All men do hate women. And until we take responsibility for our personal hatred, we will not be able to seriously explore our emotionality, nor treat women as equal human beings. You're understanding the spirit of this. This is what we're fighting against as we're trying to even think of patriarchal rule, trying to restore it, trying to believe in it, trying to embrace it. Here's another quote. Patriarchy forces fathers to act as monsters. It encourages husbands and lovers to be rapists in disguise. It teaches blood brothers to feel ashamed that they care for us women. Patriarchy denies all men the emotional life that would be self-affirming forces in their lives. The old notion of the patriarch who is worthy of respect and honor has long had no place in this world. Here's an interesting quote. The select group of patriarchal women who support and uphold patriarchal ideology and who support and uphold patriarchal men have in fact made sexism a commodity, and at the same time brainwashing men to feel that personal identity, worth, and value can be obtained through the oppression of their women. And this is the ultimate weapon by which patriarchs keep men in states of submission. Jennifer?
That's a mouthful. You know, Sister Ashley, you asked me to share this picture, and it ties into feminism. There was a picture on the blog, and there's actually two pictures, and they're side by side. One picture is of a pimp, and he's got 3 prostitutes standing next to him. Got 2 on one side and 1 on the other side. And they're all clinging to his arms, and they're looking in the camera, and they're smiling. And then you got another picture right next to it, and it shows a picture of a man, a husband, and he's got 3 wives. We got 2 wives on one side and 1 wife on the other side. One, it looks like, is with child. They're holding on to his arms. So underneath the picture, it says, how are these different? The exploitation of women is never defensible. So this spirit of feminism is truly sweep you away if your mind is not where it needs to be. If your mind is not really truly focused on the Father, if you don't understand that word, and if you don't have a relationship with him, it'll be easy for you to get swept away with these thoughts and these ideas. You heard what Sister Ashley just read. These are some pretty strong thoughts. You know, when things haven't been dealt with. I want to read something else, too, that was that was on this blog. And this is another point that, you know, this is evidence of when you don't deal with pain, when you don't deal with past hurts, when you know, truly don't deal with issues and you don't get those things right, when you don't repent properly, when you don't get the deliverance that you need, you know, those things will follow you around. But this is what the quote says. It says, America is against polygyny. Yes, for good reason. You ever been cheated on? Was your man or husband having sex with another woman something that inspired feelings of sisterhood and compassion in you? If he had gotten her pregnant, would you have loved that child as your own? I know personally what it's like to be bitter. You know, this is a bitter woman writing this. This is bitterness. This is the voice of bitterness. And, you know, I'm not reading this with very little information and making points, you know, not having all the information. This is the spirit that Sister Ashley just described. This is feminism, and this is bitterness. So feminists are very bitter. You know, from what I'm reading, why is everything always about sex? Why are their minds so perverted? You know, why does everything have to do with, you know, thinking that women are nothing more than vaginas? We never said that. No one has ever said that. So, you know, the mindset is so perverted, it cannot even see the purity of what patriarchal rule is truly supposed to be. They'll never see it for the purity that it really is.
Two thoughts. Can you please reread the quote that you just started, has your man, etc.? Read that again.
Yes, ma'am. It says, America is against polygyny. Yes, for good reason. You ever been cheated on? Was your man, husband, having sex with another woman something that inspired feelings of sisterhood and compassion in you? If he had gotten her pregnant, would you have loved that child as your own?
I brought this up. This is a good point. I hope it helps anyone out there because this is emotional writing. Okay, as she said, this is a potentially very bitter woman, and emotional writing is, you know, poetry, rap, country, public speaking, Wall Street marches. All these are emotional gatherings of people that, you know, agree emotionally one with another. So this quote and the way that she's speaking as a woman genders to an emotional response. This is what, I know only some of you will even listen to this, but this is what you need to stray completely away from. Because you are weak, you need to stay away from this. Completely away from this. Get up, walk out, move away. Don't read it. Don't listen to it. Don't like that song. Don't bob your head and dance to it. Don't read that poem because it's going to snare you. And when you're trying to overcome, you have to avoid. You're not avoiding the pain. You're dealing with the pain. Okay? You're dealing with the pain of overcoming. He did this, and he ran out on me, and he had another lover, and you're trying to understand Yah's way, and you've had nothing but men run all over you or do you wrong. This ain't a show about what they did to you. It's a show about you overcoming. So it's a very important key point that she brought up so that you may discern when someone is connecting with you emotionally. Anyone who has any artistic ability or creative writing ability, right? When I was in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, my poems were published in books. You know why? Because as early as that age, I was able to say, you know what? These people just want emotional. At the time, I'm not saying the same words, but I noticed the pattern of people that if you reach out to them emotionally and make them relate or respond to what you are stating, they are going to love what you give them. So I would I would just write the most emotional, didn't matter if it was a sob story or you're talking 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, literally published in books just because you can see how the minds work. Sisters, stay away from this stuff. Let's go back to the photo, though. The photo that was posted on this blog talk that we are discussing live and in the open tonight, Lady Israelite. There's a book entitled Black Players. And one section of this book is called, quote, Male Dominance, Men Have to Have Control, end quote. Now, in this book, it portrays the lives of pimps. And it shows how, you know, they have to have complete control of their hoes. And, you know, the hoes, you know, they cater. They got to go through, quote, this book says, quote, she must take special pain to treat him with absolute deference and respect. Okay, so a patriarchal rule or a man with more than one husband in this society, oh yes, he's going to get this label. He's going to be a pimp. And according to Bell Hooks, right, a huge black advocate of feminism, she also wrote the book Ain't I a Woman? I'll talk to y'all about it if you can't. Believe me, please don't go get the book. It ain't worth $1. In that book, quote, the role pimps expected women to play is merely an imitation of the role patriarchs expect their wives and daughters to play. Another quote, the passive, subordinate demeanor expected of the prostitute is just like what is demanded of all women in patriarchal society. This is how you can be a feminist Israelite, sisters. You can hold on to these theories right here. You can believe subconsciously somewhere in you that he's a pimp, you're a hoe. You can feel lowly, you're just a vagina. That's all your feelings. That's all the accusations of the enemy. Believe me, it's real. You can, I'm not saying you are, you can hear those things. You're going to agree, if you have been linked with feminism, you're going to agree that the role the pimps play is just an imitation of the role of the patriarch. Right, Jennifer?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. You know, I mean, we get so hypocritical when it comes to biblical marriage. But really, how many of us have practiced polygyny in some form when we were in the world? You know, we practiced it. We just don't want to admit it, but we practiced it. So coming into the faith and learning, you know, what it really should be, what it really should like. Now these women want to turn into hypocrites, you know, especially a woman who calls herself an Israelite. I don't really understand when understanding comes out, when understanding goes out, why even oppose it? Why even oppose it when it can be proven in the Word? It can be proven in the Word, and I'll tell you why. It's because the strong delusion has set in, because you've rejected it. You didn't love the truth, and you've rejected it.
Absolutely. And not only have you rejected the truth, but because of societal rejection and the things that you have believed in yourself to be rejected of, rejected by him, rejected by mom, dad, her, I've been done wrong, the victim mentality, 80% of women can't understand submission. Why say 80%? Well, because just using demographics of Pastor's YouTube channel, 80% are men, 20% are women. Okay? I'm just pulling a number out of the air. Because to the 80% of women that are not going to understand submission and the strength of it, to them it is the most lonely, rejecting, humiliating life. And as even the one of the answers that Jennifer read from the blog, or if you haven't, could you find where the woman said, I don't know, we're wasting our time, that we could be doing something else, that there's more potential to our lives?
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
Okay, if you got it that quick, go ahead. If you don't, I'll keep rambling
until you get it. I don't have it
yet,
but go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Keep going.
Okay, just let me know when you got it. So the pain, and we even talked about it last week, the pain that you actually encounter at this level of truth, and as you go even further up the ladder, it's not ever going to be signed up for. You know, who signs up to die? Who signs up to be transformed, to be renewed in your mind? You know, who signs up to be tested and proven, to be torn down in order to be built up? Who forsakes all? Who does what we're doing? And as Pastor said, if Yah had told you what all you had to endure when you came to him, you might not have signed up anyway. You might not have came this way, right? And these flower girls, I call them that because that's the names they gave themselves. These flower girls have no obedience in their heart towards Yah. It's very obvious how they answer and how they come against us. And they put themselves, here comes the rain again, hopefully we'll keep live stream. They put themselves
I have that quote when you're ready.
I'm ready, go ahead.
Okay, the quote is, it says, "It makes me sad to think people believe these kinds of things. It's so extreme, and it's so limiting. These women are resigning themselves to be possessions and follow the men leading their lives, when they actually may be able to come up with some pretty cool, unique, and intelligent thoughts that could do something pretty great." And I want to read another one as well. It says, "It makes me feel like they are a strange cult. I worry for the safety of these women, and I feel disdain for the boxes they are putting themselves in." So, you know, you got two quotes talking about how limited we are because we choose to obey, we choose to submit, but we're limited. So it's really interesting. There was even another quote that says, you know, no one should ever be anyone's possession or property. That is not okay. Also, their only goal in life is to bear seed, and if they fail to do so, they are a failure to their husbands. Okay, what about just companionship, conversation, and love? Oh, wait, passionate love is a sin. What the hell, people? I can't even begin to understand these poor ladies. I wish I could, because I believe in understanding, but they're radicals, and logic seems lost on them. End quote.
So we're resigning and we're limited. Interesting, even the Apocrypha states that you suffer not a woman to gad abroad. It is feminism and liberty of this culture that has taken us out of the home and given us an unlimited life. Given us so much fruit of the knowledge of good and evil that it wouldn't really make sense to go back to the garden, would it? So as I said, these flower girls don't have obedience in their hearts. There's no way. And they put themselves in a judgment seat of the most powerful, anointed, and peaceful way to live. They've attacked our Yah by tuning in for the ride of their life, because it's probably going to sink deep down in them for a long time. I'm going to sleep, like Pastor says, I go to sleep every night. I went to sleep peacefully the night I read the blog about me, right, about us. They're controlled by the demons that they don't believe in. They're manifesting their demons while listening to the show, blaming the way that we think and the way that we speak. And the thing that really pisses me off, and I don't mind speaking like that on the show because y'all know my passion, those who know me personally, is the way they come against pastor. Because I don't believe that you should follow your husband or follow a pastor without following them with your whole heart. And in so doing and following them with your whole heart, you will be just as passionate about how they live and how they lead you as they are passionately leading you. Does that make sense? If you aren't passionately involved or intimately involved with your husband, Are you going to support him? Are you going to be pissed off when someone rises up against him or speaks against him? If you are not truly with this ministry, I can understand how you're not going to relate to our pastor being attacked. But as I've always said, this is a husband and a father. This is a leader and a mentor. You don't know the intimate decisions he's helped my husband make for our home. So let's go into that a little bit, because at this point, this is where I would like to see a woman face-to-face. I really would. But because I can't, I'm going to go this route, and hopefully we'll hear something. Hopefully another blog will go up, or maybe instead of the cowardly way of posting everything you think about us feminists, maybe you'll come forth with some kind of Holy Ghost boldness and courage and deal with me like a woman. So let's go. Let's talk about Pastor. Let's go some of the things that were stated.
Yes, ma'am. Quote I have. It says, "Now, this may sound like some crazy cult from some other country, but it's not. These words come from a group of people living in America. I have met some of them," she says. "They are a relatively prominent Israelite group calling themselves Hebrew Israelites. They have a community for strong members, a YouTube presence, followers around the country, yearly events, and this radio show, among other things." I'll move on to the next quote. It says, "This probably makes Israelites seem like a group of people all follow the crazy ideas of one man, which is funny because that's what we're supposed to do. Except in this podcast, they've replaced Yeshua with pastor. Yeshua and pastor are two very different people." She says, "This podcast makes me feel like I would have to abandon my critical thinking skills in order to join this sect. I can see how the idea of community would be appealing to people, especially when they are feeling isolated. But I don't think Straitway is the only way or the correct way to solve that longing to belong." Next quote. "I got the impression that their idea of biblical marriage, and I may be wrong, is a marriage in which the man maintains complete control over every aspect of the relationship. The marriage relationship chain of command is like this: pastor, husband, and then wife. The husband must fully submit his mind, will, and emotions to pastor's teaching. The wife must fully obey and submit to both as she would God. Any pullback or critical thinking skills are angrily dismissed as a rebellious Western mindset." And the last quote. The question that I'm answering on this last quote is, from this podcast, what makes a man and what makes a woman? So this is how this person heard. So I want you to listen to how they're answering. "Man is divided up into two separate groups, pastor and everyone else. Pastor tells everyone else what to believe and they follow, because after all, that's what sheep are supposed to do. Women are beings of a lower rank. Men can require unquestioned obedience. Servant leadership and self-sacrifice on the man's part seems to be a foreign concept, perhaps a Western one. Women cannot question men because they are not men and cannot be expected to understand anything about them. This is only what I gather from listening to this one podcast. I have no doubt that I am missing and misunderstanding a lot of their beliefs." She says, "Goodness, I hope I don't hurt anyone's feelings." So this last quote, at least she understands, you know what, there's a lot that I don't understand. So she's putting it out there. There's a lot that I believe I'm missing or misunderstanding. So that's what I have, Sister Ashley, as far as the accusations going across about Pastor. But, you know, I wanted to bring up just one point before you comment on what I just read. If we have a problem, or, you know, there's a problem out there with someone who calls himself an Israelite. You have a problem with patriarchal rule. You have a problem with biblical marriage. How you going to feel when you see him return and he's gathering all his brides? You know? How you going to feel about that? You going to be jealous? He's not coming back for you if you've got jealousy in your heart. He's just not. So I just wanted to point that out.
And because I live here on Straitway soil, maybe I'm just assuming that I could be the one between you and I, Jennifer, that's maybe a little more brainwashed, maybe a little more I don't know, protective over pastor or et cetera, et cetera. I can't think like the enemy. I'm too busy trying to save my soul. So Jennifer, you speak up for a moment. You defend our pastor, not because I said so, but because of your own heart. Of course these accusations are supposed to come, but at some point, some of you out there who are still hearing them, you need to get a little strength about you. Realize the accuser of the brethren, the enemy, the Hasatan of your soul is coming against the man of Yah preaching a pure word, attacking his life, his ways, his looks, his tone, or whatever. And you need to get mad at your own self for listening to his voice. Let me pause for a moment, Jennifer, while you get your thoughts together, and go this route, too. Just had this pop in my mind. I hope you're listening. The sister that had written the letter, I only know you're a sister, the letter I read on Scripture Study. I only know you're a sister because of the comments of your makeup and the things that, some of the issues that you were having. I appreciate your letter, first and foremost. I appreciate you reaching out. But might I give you a little strength to say that you are surrounded here at this ministry by a cloud of witnesses of people that have given up much more than makeup, head covers, and skirts. I am living amongst the people that have sacrificed their entire life and lost family just to claim the name of Christ, that are willing to go to death for one another and are willing to stand for their brothers and sisters. We are a unit that you will not find anywhere on this earth, and if any of you are out there deciding to be a part of this unit, you better drop your makeup. And you better put your head cover on and cover your flesh, because times are coming that you're going to wish you knew your Yah. And I don't care what kind of temptation is coming to you and speaking to your mind, or what kind of weak vessel you may be, because I'm just as weak. I am just as needing of our Most High as you have ever been. If you only knew me personally, I am not above you in any way. And everyone out there having a problem in the least little way, let it go. Grow up. Come on, join the unit. Let some of these petty matters go, some of the things that keeps you from fellowship. I have beautiful women that comment on our YouTube. Carla Patterson, Homestead Tessie, always writing beautiful things, not bothered by or not feeling pressured by, I need to, change my name to Sister Carla Patterson or Sister Tessie. Not bothered by the small things. They've literally been following us for months, if not years, continually pressing towards the truth. So it's not about uproot your life and your family and come live right here because we're the only way to make it in. Please hear what the Spirit is saying to you, to you, to you. Jennifer, defend Pastor.
As Pastor has said before, he doesn't need to be defended. He truly does not. I just want to point out, though, that he speaks a certain way for a reason, and he is fishing. He's not going to speak words that are soft and smooth and, words to tickle our ears, because that's not what he's here for. That's not what he's called to do. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that you'll never know. You truly will never know. The women in this ministry are truly protected. If judgment goes forth, he makes sure that the women are protected. But, these are behind-the-scenes things, and they're really none of your business. They're none of my business at all. I just know the nature of Pastor. I know that he defends and he fights for families. So, again, he doesn't need to be defended because he's working in righteousness. And this is only for a remnant. This is only for a select few. And if you don't understand and you don't have a desire to understand, then there's no need to continue to listen. Feminists, it's not for you. feminist. This message is not for a feminist. This is for true, holy daughters of Zion. I remember the very first YouTube video that I heard from Pastor, and he was talking about, you know, how filthy our hands are, how we raise our filthy hands thinking that we're worshiping the Most High, you know, and he was saying some pretty, really, really hard words. And you know what I said? This man is telling the truth. I didn't even know anything about Pastor. All I can say is this man is telling the truth. So if it's not in us, if it's not in you to love the truth, if it's not in you to know the truth, then move on. If it is, then you need to fight harder to understand that truth and to embrace it. Because if you don't, you know, we've already read it. Strong delusion will follow.
Absolutely. And how can we all claim to know the same Elohim? And even those in the interviewees of this blog, they claim all but one, some form of godliness. Some of them answered with scriptural references to Corinthians, et cetera, and, you know, when a person never takes personal responsibility for who they are or how they live, it's easy to claim God, right? Like, oh, non-denominational, that's me, that's my family, that's how I was raised. We are actually, all you're doing is just claiming the name of Christ and no lifestyle or commitment to anyone. No unit, no body, no fellowship. So you don't understand the power of it. I'm right here amongst it. And I'm telling you, there was nothing that was going to stop me from traveling to this location. This is before any thoughts of some blog talk. Pastor wasn't even on blog talk. This is just simply me, a young woman in my 20s, admiring these people, and nothing was going to stop me from driving, traveling, coming, and committing to this people. Nothing. And now we have all these hindrances, all these accusations, and all these lies that actually continually comes up on our show, because I know somebody's listening. Even Jennifer was like, apparently our show is fishing. Remember that, Jennifer?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And I said, you know, we caught a fish. It wasn't a clean one. Must have been a big old catfish, but that's what we caught. So
it's true. We caught a catfish. You know, I know when I even talked to Jennifer about this morning, she's like, you know, for the most part, we're not going to all understand those that are higher up the ladder, you know, and it's never a place of arrogance by any means. But I'll use myself for example. Just even being on this show. Maybe some of you have thought about it. Maybe some of you haven't. And for the most of us, because we just live in la-la and we only care about ourselves and we don't think outside of the box, let me tell you what this show can get you, okay? And believe me, it's not a worry. I'm not worried. I go to bed every night. This show can get me and Jennifer accused. It can get us brought down disrespectfully. In your mind, you can disrespect us to a level that, you know what, sometimes when I'm speaking to someone, you're discussing something to me that I've already overcome. That doesn't elevate me over you. That simply gives me what the word says, when you've been converted, go and strengthen your brother, right? In my case, your sister. It's the way y'all works. But this show can get you, or me, Jennifer, ignored, disrespected. It can get us accused. I've been accused of a lack of submission to my husband because of my demeanor or my passion on the show. You don't know this is going on in the background. You don't know the conversations I have or the spirits that I have to engage in when I'm conversating with my sisters. It's gotten me lied on or misrepresented. As Pastor has said, you know, I said this funny in the kitchen today. That he said it before, like, don't you know the other pastor that lives around here? It's a true statement because he's saying one thing, and because of translation and communication, it's getting mistranslated in so many minds that by the time it's done being spoken out of someone else's mind, it's totally not what he said. right? And so this show has put me in that position as well. Nowhere near on his level, just on my level, on Jennifer's level. We can be easily misrepresented. I can be considered a buddy, chum, or pal to someone when in actuality, if you would just humble yourself, I can mentor you. I can help you. Don't take my social skills for granted that I'm just, he and ha-ha with you when I could actually help you, right? This show puts Jennifer and I out front. Even in an example like this going on in the background, somebody's so pissed at us, they're shaking, they're manifesting, they're having blinding headaches because of our show. We can be, my life can be judged even by, hey, those around me, those near me, I don't know. I'm just saying it can happen. It puts you on you better live up to your words, Ashley. You on the show, you talking. And same for Jennifer. She better be living up to what she's saying. She dare not be in the front of things on this microphone if she's not living up to it. Her husband will require that of her. Her Yah will require that of her. Same with me. So this can get us criticized by the masses. Everything that I'm even saying has been done to our pastor 100-fold for 20 years. And it's funny because it's not in our minds at all. Like, we don't meditate on it or think on it, like, oh, this could happen if I say this, or what if they take it that way? No, you're just speaking, you're just talking, you're just clear. I told y'all, you want me to stand on the roof and shout something, shout my sin and tell you what I've been through just to help you overcome, I would do it. You don't know my heart. You don't know how soft my heart really is because you hear my tone. But I've had sisters confess to me. Jennifer laughed at this, so I said this earlier. Let's open the phone lines, okay? Just call in 515-602-9654. Press 1 if you would like to speak to us. I told her it was humorous. I wish I could even share the whole conversation that I had with a sister when she confessed to me that she didn't live around here or with me here on the land or anything at this time, and she was like, I got to come check this Ashley chick out. I'm tired of hearing about it. Tired of hearing her voice, all this hype, all this passion, right? I got to come see this shit. See if she's really about what she says she's about. This is just a lot that I have, right? So we all got these lots. Sister up in wherever you are, East Coast. Right now your lot is to give up your makeup, sis. Choose you this day. You going to put it on tomorrow? You going to wipe it off your face tonight? You going to get some conviction about you because you're surrounded by a multitude of people that have done it? So we have these things faced before us, but I just want us all to get out of ourselves. And when we don't understand something, shut up. In the presence of Mother Carol, if I can't relate to her, shut up. It just makes sense. And me even saying shut up already, Jennifer, can just cause the blinding headaches, my sister. What say you? I don't know.
I think it causes the blinding headaches because, you can say it because that's how you speak to yourself. Say it because that's how I talk to myself, And I'm not offended when the Father deals with me in that way. If I need to shut up, then I need to shut up. He loves me enough to correct me. That's how I have to deal with myself because I understand my nature as a woman. So I'm not fooled by the nature that I need to overcome within myself. And, you talked about having a form of godliness. And I want to read just a couple more quotes. This is what a form of godliness looks like when you pick and choose what you want. You have a form of godliness, but you deny the power. So this quote says, this is a few thoughts that I had during the podcast were as follows. If there should be no romance, why then would an entire book of the Bible be devoted to the subject? And she's talking about Songs of Solomon. And if you know about Songs of Solomon, it's not talking about romance. Songs of Solomon is talking about intimacy. not about romance. Romance came from Rome, specifically. Intimacy is from the Father. Romance is perverted. Everything turns into something that is sex-related. And when you have this mindset, that's why you can't really understand biblical marriage, because you don't understand intimacy. You don't understand what it's like to go before the Father and allow him to truly, truly see into you, for you to be transparent before him. You don't know what it's like to be transparent and be intimate with your husband. You have no idea. And so there's a surface level that you'll never, ever be able to tap into because you're so stuck on romance. And you can go back and listen to our broadcast on romance. Sister Diane talked about romance, where it originated, why we don't follow it. We don't. The Father didn't create that. And there was another quote as well. It said, Genesis 2:18, it says, "And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him." And it says, "My opinion is that a woman is not there to be possessed, but to help." Yeah, the woman is there to help, but she's his possession as well. So we can't pick and choose. We can't have a form of godliness. We can't pick and choose what we're going to obey, what sounds good. This sounds good today. This doesn't. I can do this today. I can't do this tomorrow. I'll just do this and I won't do this, and I'll just fight passionately against what I don't want to do. I'll call myself a feminist, and I'll just see who I can lead astray. It doesn't work like that, not to a true Israelite. So we are Israelites in function, not just by the words that we say, not by the head cover, not by the skirt. It doesn't make you an Israelite. You are an Israelite in function.
And Sister Jennifer, when you are an Israelite in function and when you are dying to your old ways and becoming new, are you at all worried about anything that is coming against us?
Not one bit. Not one bit at all. Like you said, I sleep really well at night. It doesn't matter who doesn't agree with us. It doesn't matter at all. I mean, they didn't agree with the Messiah, and we're followers of the Messiah, so they're not going to agree with us. It's actually a good thing, because that we know that we're being persecuted and rejected for his name's sake. So there's no worry at all. The worry comes when I refuse to obey his ways.
Ain't that the truth? This is all about saving yourself, and I hope that y'all all have that same fear, because right where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be, unless you're in disobedience, where you're striving, what the Father's showing you, your fastings and your prayings, like as Pastor even brought it out, hey, he loves us all. It's hard to fathom that he loves all of us the same. He did say, hey, he may have more favor upon me because of my obedience, meaning he can reward me with things because he knows he can trust me. I'm speaking for him, not myself. But right where you are, it's about getting a personal relationship with the Father. And I cannot testify as these women testified about, or let's say they didn't testify. I cannot testify about the women that spoke out against us with any, any form of compassion on their ways or their thinking, or that they're even seeking to change. Yes, I did appreciate the one man, because she interviewed 6 women and five men, but the one gentleman that was at least trying to understand, he had some really good points. So I got a caller. It's area code 910. You've been in the queue for a little while because I had not opened up the caller queue yet. Just wanted to say that first, just in case you wanted to hang up. Unless you want us to talk to you, I'm going to click on you now. All right? Guest call in is 515-602-9654. At least 5 minutes left in the show. If we have callers, we'll end it. If we don't, let's go to North Carolina to a new number. Area code 910, you're live on Sister to Sister.
Shalom.
Shalom, I can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is Mother Newkirk.
Mother Newkirk, blessings to you.
Shalom. I've been listening to the broadcast, but I've been being quiet. But tonight, they got me stirred up. I just want to say, women have lost their minds, some of them. And as an older woman, I can remember coming up, my mother and a lot of other women were very submissive to their husbands. We was taught that. And when they talk about marriage and stuff, and I can go both ways. A lot of folks know my husband is a pastor. He's retired now. But as coming up in the Christian church, we was taught to obey our husbands. I don't know how we got so far away, but I know now I can see women now, even when I go out in shopping or listen to different conversations and different things I catch on TV if I'm changing the channel or something. We have gotten so far from the mark. We not have always been that way. I don't know what happened. Now I can understand why they said 2/3 of us are not going to make it. And I don't like the way they come against pastor. I don't like the way they come against the ministry. If you don't know anything about the ministry, if you don't understand it, I was taught, keep your mouth shut. They need to go back to the old way. Go back to the old way. And I want to tell, and when they were saying about this romance stuff, because a lot of y'all really don't, y'all know a lot about my sister, Mother Bullock. But I'm going to share something. I've been married to my husband, be 38 years. When I married him, I was engaged to another man. Okay, I had just came into the church, and I was loving the Father and stuff, but the man that I was engaged to was not saved. And I prayed and asked the Father. I said, Father, I'm in love with this man, but I know he's not saved, and I know what the church is teaching. What should I do? My husband came in. I met my husband. I met him on Mother's Day, and we was married in June. I prayed and asked the Father what for me to do, and he told me to marry this man and not the other man. So I didn't go for the romance. People have gotten away from what the words have said. Like you were saying, this they got about the Eastern thing. It's not. They just got away from the Word of God. We was taught, and I know the preachers and stuff are not teaching like that anymore. And so I would commend pastors for preaching. Let them keep on preaching, because if they women, all those ones that want to say they want to be bossy and all that stuff, and they don't want to love their husbands, all they got to do, read Corinthians, the 13th chapter of Corinthians, and it'll tell you how to treat everybody and your husband. And if they truly love their husband, they will obey their husband. Even in the Western, when they get married, it tells them, obey your husband. It tells them that. And so, because I'm a little heated by these women on there talking crazy. They have lost their mind. But actually, I commend you and the other sisters, how y'all love your husband, how you take care of your husband, because that's the way it used to be. The old women did that. That's where we was brought up. But I don't know what happened. But we have to pray for our women and keep up doing the good work.
Mother Newkirk, I am greatly humbled by you even listening to us, and as well as your phone call. Very wise words. You are invited to press 1 and speak to us at any time something's on your heart. I really greatly appreciate your voice tonight and everything you've said. Sister Jennifer.
Okay. Mother Newkirk, thank you for calling in. I wanted to tell you a comment somebody put in the chat room. They said, I'm so glad she just explained why she sounds like Mother Bullock. So they're happy that you've explained why you sound like Mother Bullock. This is Mother Bullock's natural sister. So bless you, and thank you so much for calling in.
Hallelujah. Oh, bless you. Hallelujah. Great way to end the call, right? Great way to end the call. Sister Jennifer, going to wrap up the show with any ending thoughts, my sister. Thank you for the great find, Sister Chandra, Jennifer, for bringing it out. Very well put out tonight, and I hope that it really helps someone at least come out of feminism.
Hallelujah. Sisters, it's not a controlling and domineering thing. Like Pastor tells us not to eat off other tables. A lot of us are just really not even prepared for this feminist spirit, this militant feminist spirit that is here. So we really have to stay in submission, stay in obedience, and stay exactly where we belong. I just want to read one more thing. It says, now our Master, Jesus Christ himself, and Yah, even our Father, which have loved us, and hath given us everlasting consolation and good hope through grace, comfort your hearts and establish you in every good work and word. Shalom.
And Yahweh Elohim said,
It is not good for the man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as his counterpart.
Holy Yahweh Almighty, we're singing, Holy